Hello everyone, Thempire in here with the Elestrals new ban list. We've just had a big premiere event. We've had several big premiere events in the past couple bit here. I'm kind of surprised we didn't do a list immediately after Dallas. That feels like it would have been a more natural time to do it. Here we are doing a list right before the release of Firestorm, so let's see how this is going to impact the upcoming format. We got a video because unfortunately they're still not putting these out as like anything other than videos. Okay, so Elechick banned. That's crazy. Really important. Elechick needs to go.
Headed into the Divine Champions Firestorm format coming out on June 1st. This video is going to detail.
This is essentially like a patch update before Firestorm release. Master Duel does this a lot. Hearthstone does this a lot, so I think it makes sense
I want to give a big shout out to
here as well.
Sanderson for their big W over the final Moonrise Premiere event, and ultimately the first person to lock in their invitation and secure their spot.
But I think spreading them out to keep the format shifting is a little more interesting personally, but I do understand the logic here as well.
Package of photosynthesis from Bo to seeing Winjin and Tornajin dominate, with even Celestlio taking the final spot of our last Moonrise Premiere. The metagame was diverse,
yeah, because of that,
it was evolving, and I think a lot of
I could expect to see Rise for the Ashes potentially get a hit. Rise for the Ashes is a card that should never have been printed. It is always going to be either the worst card ever printed or the most broken card ever printed.
It is an exciting time, as there are
it's like Monster Reborn. It's either good or it's terrible. It's either like really like too good or terrible.
And in our next upcoming premiere event on June 7th. So make sure you guys sign up for that if you haven't done so yet. All of the changes announced in today's video will be in effect for June 1st, and of course that upcoming premiere event on the 7th. The first card that we are going to be announcing today, which I alluded to in the introduction of this video, is we are indeed sending Elechick to Tartarus.
I don't think you alluded to it. I think you just said it.
Now be banned from Elestrals. Previously limited to one copy, this card will be moving to the
This card is
Banlist,
insane. It needs to go.
This has been in the plans for quite a few months now, actually. Going back 6+ months, we've been intending to make this move, but we were waiting for the right time to do so, and the launch of Firestorm is the perfect opportunity to do so. There's been some significant shifts in design philosophy since Elechick was originally written back in 2022 as a generic Divine Searcher, and we've been able to quickly identify its power level.
Yeah, generic Divine Searchers cannot exist. You have to have specific Divine Searchers instead, at least for now.
Moving forward, over the course of the Divine Champion sets, you're going to see new Divine Searchers for each of the Divine runes. And you see that in Firestorm with cards like Torchin, Champion of Hestia. You've also got cards like Spine Imp, Champion of Hermes, Sorlet, Champion of Aeolus. These various cards are being introduced into the game to provide element-specific Divine Searchers or Divine-specific Divine Searchers, and Elechick at a 4 attack stat is simply too strong in the game right now to exist. So we are going to be moving it to Tartarus.
Yeah, the attack stat is also an important aspect of this.
Sure, I was going to do this. We will be ultimately producing an Elechick Escape from Tartarus version coming out, most likely alongside set 7.
Oh, that's a neat effect. I like that. I like that's a good way to change that, to make that playable again.
Introducing a new Escape from Tartarus card. I have said that not every card that ends up on the ban list will get an Escape from Tartarus card, but I feel like we might as well make one for this. It'll be a lot of fun, and maybe one day there will be an Escape from Tartarus archetype if we keep sending cards to Tartarus.
Oh, that's what I've wanted from the beginning. Since they started doing this, that's what I've wanted. I want an Escape from Tartarus archetype, please.
But also its generic Divine Search has allowed for players to kind of pigeonhole their deck making into
Let me search Escape from Tartarus cards.
Only one attack, which is a little bit more beneficial, and we'll continue to introduce Divine specific searchers over the next couple sets so that every Divine, or pretty much every Divine, will receive their own specific searcher to allow their archetypes to evolve and these combo decks to evolve without just slapping down an Elechick and being able to get whatever you want. The next card we are announcing is a limit to 1 copy per deck, and that is none other than Rise from the Ashes.
Yeah, there it is.
With Rise might seem kind of funny since Cobalt Sanderson just won this event utilizing Rise from the Ashes and Celestlio, but these plans were in place now for quite a few weeks as we've been looking at Rise from the Ashes in the context of a handful of other decks, specifically Blizztrix, and a desire to reduce that power level without obliterating the deck or the archetype, and that's really what this limit is ultimately
obliterating
about. by limiting Rise to 1, you're essentially removing the functionality of these kind of pitch a 3 cost to the underworld and revive it strategies.
It's too
Rather,
good
you're
right
gonna
now.
have to utilize strategies that are a little bit more consistent to be able to generate these advantages from your underworld.
The fact of the matter is that like 3 drops have to be insane in order to be worth
so we're going to be limiting
investing
it to 1
in.
Copy and continuing to monitor it over the
but that
coming
means
sets
that
and
if you
over the
can
coming
cheat them
months
out with Rise
as
from
it
the
sees play in
Ashes,
various decks.
then it
But
wins
at
the game
current
on the
state of
spot.
we felt that it was just
When
far
you
too
get
swingy,
when you do
especially
it,
combined in strategies like Blizz
it's just
Trades, which are
too
gonna be
easy to
getting
do.
support through Hermes, being able to send that to the underworld very freely.
I
We
think
saw over
limiting
the
it
weekend with
does
Celeste,
significantly
Leo,
weaken
and
this.
Cobalt's deck
It means you
being
can only
able
do
to
it
use
once
cards
for
like
one.
Magma and Golden Apple of Discord to pitch one
And
of the
it also
strongest
means
lessons of
that,
the game
like-
to the underworld, and then simply bring it back with Rise.
Yeah, you could
So we
just
believe
discard
that
with
this limit
Kumalis
is going
or,
to help a lot of other game plan
or
decks
was that
have more
Kumagma?
consistency
And Golden
not
Apples.
have the tables flipped on them so incredibly fast from these really powerful 3 drops
Like,
hitting the field.
you're
without
playing
any
some
sort of
absolutely
response,
terrible
especially when
cards that
combined
just
with some of
happen to
other
say the
cards in
word
game.
discard
It becomes
on
very
them.
difficult to deal with that kind of board swarming, especially when it's 3 cost Elestrals doing those swarms. It may come as a surprise to you all, but that is actually it for our banned and limited list.
And that's not
for
really
this
much of a
segment
surprise at
here.
all.
We've been spending a lot of time deliberating, and I'm excited to announce that we've actually formed an internal team of some of the best players in the world, not just at Elestrals, but at other games, in helping us make these decisions. So we have a dedicated team
Interesting.
just to
I mean,
test
like-
the ban list. I'm not going to announce who's on that team right now because we're still building things out. We've been testing this
So
for a
anything
few months,
else,
and now we're entering
like,
a new phase
it's a
of testing.
9-minute
But the
video.
hope is that we can have more transparent
Gotta get ad
conversations
revenue, I suppose.
with this incredible internal team that I've created, and kind of a forward-facing approach with you guys. So we're still working out some of the details on that, but expect for us to continue our transparency moving forward and announcing.
Okay,
not
maybe
only
that's why
what
this
we're doing to
one
evolve the
took so
game,
long, is
but
'cause they're
why
building
we're
this
doing it
team.
and how it's going to
That could
impact
be
the
it.
game moving forward. It's worth noting that we are going to continue to evaluate the card pool as new sets are
Ooh, are they gonna
released
tell us what
and as the
they're
metagame
evaluating?
shifts. Moonrise had a very diverse metagame, so we tend to think, it's best to kind of keep our hands away, but we still are going with a more
I don't think that's
proactive
necessarily the
approach because
case.
We feel that it's needed.
A diverse
We're gonna
metagame does not
continue to
necessarily mean a
monitor the
healthy
situation
metagame.
as it goes. There's a handful of cards on our radar that we're continuing to test, and even though they may not have appeared on this list, they may appear in a future list, just as there's cards on the list right now that may come off the list in the future. We're going to continue to take in your
That's how
feedback
lists
and
work,
use
yeah.
our internal testing tools to make the best decisions for Elestrals moving forward. Now, I do want to say I saw a lot of buzz in the community
Explaining
about
the
us
concept of a
limiting or
ban list.
restricting some of the core staple runes in the game.
I don't
Cards
think
like
you
Gorgon's
could-
Gaze,
I don't know about
Ambrosia, and so on and so
Ambrosia.
forth. But I do want to say that I think it's really important that Elestrals has new cards added to the card pool that can fill some
Gorgon's
of those
Gaze-
slots before we
Oh,
start
there's so many
chunking
powerful
away at
counter
those
runes.
cards, because if you just take Gorgon's Gaze out of the game or limit
I
it
don't
to
know.
1, it has an incredibly kind of ripple effect on the rest of the game. That is a very load-bearing card right now. So if there's no other cards in the game that have a negative
but I
effect
think
or
you should just
can
be
stop
printing
something
more
on a
generic
chain or
counter
suppress
runes to
something
fix
or
that.
prevent something from ascending or
Like, you
whatever
should
it
be
may that
you should be
Gorgon's
printing
does,
more
it
counter
creates a
runes
big
that
void,
take
and I
the
think it's
place
gonna
of
actually
Gorgon's
get out of hand
Gaze,
pretty quickly.
so
But
that
these are all
Gorgon's
things
Gaze
that
isn't
we're
load
testing
bearing
and
anymore, and you
continuing
can
to
get rid of
evaluate.
it.
So we're gonna continue
I
to
don't
roll
know,
forward
man.
with the list as it is right now. Elechick being banned, Rise from the Ashes to 1, and the existing list still staying in place.
Like,
But
I
again,
feel
we're
like
gonna
if a
continue to
card
test,
is load
continue
bearing,
to
that's a
evaluate,
problem.
and we're super excited to see what happens with the new
You should be
Firestorm
printing more
format.
cards to fix
Tons
that,
of
but
amazing cards being
they
added, both on the
refuse. It
Elestral
seems like
side
they
and the
cannot
Rune
print
side. I think we're gonna see a nice
new
shakeup. The last thing to note is that
good
starter decks
generic
are always
staples
legal if they
for
are
some reason.
unmodified. So if you pick up a new starter deck and it contains an Elechick or two
They
Elechick, you
like
can play
refuse
that
to do
exact starter
so.
deck as long as you don't change any of the cards. But of course, you are going to have to take, if you change any of those cards, you are going to have to take out the banned and limited cards or adhere to the proper list. So that's worth noting there. But ultimately, I am so excited for this next chapter of Elestrals that I can't thank you guys enough. Please continue
That
to
is
give me your
also
feedback.
very
Use the
confusing,
comment
but
section
sure.
below. If you want to have any healthy and constructive discussions, I always welcome that. And we're going to continue to take your feedback and the data that we collect and our brand new internal testing team. I say brand new, but they've been rocking for like 4 months now, testing the game just for
Yeah,
bans
if
and
they've only been
limits.
if
Super
they've only been
excited
around for
about
4
that.
months, that
I'll get you guys
explains
more details
why
on
it took
that
so
in the
long for this
future,
list
but
to come together.
what
And it's
an
only
all-star
2
cast we
cards.
have. I'm so proud of the team that we've assembled. Some of the best players in the world helping Elestrals.
Okay, I don't need to hear any more of this. So that's it. It's a finishing off Elechick and a limit to Rise from the Ashes. That's it. Pretty simple list. Pretty expected results, frankly. Elechick is a crazy card that should never have been printed. Rise from the Ashes is another card that should never have been printed, but it's probably fine at 1. It's just a card that it's either nothing, which means it's a waste of cardboard, or it's everything, which means it shouldn't be in the format. there's no in between on that kind of card, in my eyes. I'm actually like coming up with like a video idea with this. In fact, like I think there's this weird spot that cards can end up in where they are they're like they are designed in such a way where if they are ever playable, they are absolutely broken. And if they're not playable, then they're like just dark garbage, right? And I think that's a really interesting thing. It's fascinating to me. I'm not sure what the video is yet. I'm still like percolating on it. But like I feel like there's something there, right? I feel like there's something there in just like examining cards. I think the Hurricane is one of these. Hurricane is either dog shit or it's the best card in the game. Rise from the Ashes is like this. I think like you go back to Yu-Gi-Oh, like Raigeki, Monster Reborn are kind of like this. Like terrible cards right now, but like they were incredibly powerful, ban-worthy cards at one point in time. Pot of the Forbidden was designed to let you, do that shit. And then it's like, well, now it's like Pot of the Forbidden's still around, but all most of those cards that are the effects it has are back. It's weird. It's weird. So that's like Elestrals is, still just dealing with the card design choices of base set in a lot of ways. And this list is further, trying to address those design choices in base set. And I think that's good. I think that's good that they're still doing that. I feel like they could have done more though. I think at a certain point, a ban list isn't what's going to solve it, but printing more cards that do things is what's going to solve it. So hopefully the next set after Firestorm is going to introduce some cards that do something. We've got good cards in Firestorm, but I just don't think it's enough to really do what needs to be done as far as that goes. And you might actually need to hit some of the really powerful staple cards that we have currently. I was like, Ambrosia. He mentioned Ambrosia, and like, I'm so torn up about it, right? Because Ambrosia is like not just a staple, but like it is Elestrals. But you cannot deny that the person who sees more Ambrosia is in a very advantageous position. And like that feels wrong to me, right? It's just like, I managed to draw 3 Ambrosia. You didn't see any Ambrosia. I win. That feels wrong. It feels wrong. I'm not, I don't know. That one's a tough one. That one's a tough one to me. Like, it's not a guarantee. No, nothing's a guarantee in card games. But like, it sure does fucking help. It really, really does. And I think it might help a little too much. It might need to be hit. Oh, that one's a toughie though. But I feel like our generic guys are Gorgon's PTA Shield. We really need more stuff like that. We really need more stuff like that diversifies what people are playing. But like, you can't make stuff that's better than them, I don't think. Because if you want like anything besides 5s to be playable, you need to have stuff like removal that doesn't, incentivize playing 5s. So you can't make stuff that's better than what we already had that already incentivizes playing 5s. I don't know. I really do think the way out of this is through printing new generic cards. And that doesn't seem to be what's on the table currently. It doesn't seem to be the design philosophy of the sets currently. So I don't know how you actually get out of the, like, what I would consider to be the sameness of decks without just limiting some of the generic staple cards. to make it so at least instead of like 29 cards being decided in every deck, it's like 20. So it's only half the deck instead. And then you can like do something more interesting with the other half of the deck. Instead of having like, oh, so most of the deck is decided, and then we have like a small little portion of the deck that you get to decide what you do with it. This is the generic good stuff deck, but I've added a 11 card fire engine. Woo! You know, I've added a Rise from the Ashes engine, right? Glad to see a hit on Rise from the Ashes. I think, I guess in some ways it's unfortunate that the deck didn't get much time to shine, but at least it got time to shine, unlike Pharaohgeist. And the Elechick hit was a long time coming. Elechick probably should have been banned right from the start, but I understand the hesitancy. And wanting to just test it at one. But you can't have that kind of generic search this early in the game. Maybe in the future, especially on a 4-attack guy, that's just too much. If you put it on a plucky, then we're talking. I think that's all the thoughts I have. It's interesting, like seeing this come out right before Firestorm. Like what does Firestorm actually do to all this? Who knows? It's really easy to be like, oh yeah, Firestorm, it's got a lot of bad cards in it. It's probably not going to do much. Maybe Spiders is good, something like that. Or maybe Spiders is bad. Who knows? But like the thing is, this is like what we said at the beginning of Moonrise. We're like, oh, okay, nothing much changes except for Blitztrick is the best deck. Is it though? Is it though? Because it sure does seem to gamba a little too hard to actually make it in the top cut all the time. It's really easy to say things are good in this game, and it's a lot harder to prove that they actually are, or that they're bad. This game is a little. I'm trying to think of because like, it's not that the game is not solved, because the game is to a large degree the game is solved. Like we know what the good cards are, but I think it's a lot harder to evaluate cards before actual play begins than it is for other games because of partly because of the spirit thing is part of the reason. I think the spirit like mechanic, the cost of that changes evaluation. Like it changes the value of cards in a lot of ways. But I think more importantly, it's just not the same as Yu-Gi-Oh! We don't get the cards for like months before we actually see them. I mean, I guess we got the cards like we did get the cards for a while before we saw them, but like it wasn't like, it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you sit on them for like almost a year before they're actually released in your region. So I honestly, it is kind of like more like the OCG. If you're looking at this from a Yu-Gi-Oh! Lens, it is more like we're looking at the OCG than the TCG, because we're getting them a reasonable amount of time after they've been revealed to us. Instead of having like several months to actually like play test with these cards and figure out and like see other regions' results with them and see what's going on. So that's a little strange to me personally, but it probably makes more sense. It probably like feels more at home for Pokemon players or something. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Otherwise, I think the hits were good. Probably could have used more, but I understand that they only just got that team together to work on this kind of stuff. So it's going to be, I get it. All right. That's all the thoughts I have here. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of these down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey there. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got a lot more for you if you want them. Just hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications. I'd also appreciate if you left me a like and a comment and maybe shared the video around with your friends. You can also follow me on all the usual social media sites. Just check out my website in the description below for more info. My videos are funded by my patrons, Ko-fi subscribers, and YouTube members, whose names you'll see scrolling by in the credits here. For just $1 a month, you too could find yourself here, trapped in my end screen for all eternity. In particular, I'd like to thank Jeremy Coatney, Frog Prince Michael, Fleekill, Haru Hayes, the Almighty Ferret Lord, and Fire Mizumi. A big thanks to all my other patrons and to my little community as a whole. Remember to be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and have a wonderful whatever time it is for you. Bye-bye.